it to, from a contamination standpoint. So we'll have to build that up as well. But yeah, so Tom, it's access that we can very readily establish. Yeah, we don't have to go into the engine section or something. So the good news is it's an easy to get to spot right on the base of the ML. That's easy to get in there, relatively easy. Nothing's overly easy. It will require some work, but that was also a good indication for us. I agree with Bill. Based on the shuttle program experiences, based on what we saw at the pad, based on our knowledge of that seal and how often it's been used, this seemed like the right path, and that's why we made the decision that we made.
It really started leaking when we went into what we call a kickstart, where like I said, the hydrogen operator would close the vent valve on the top of the core stage hydrogen tank to elevate the pressure, and that's what stimulates to get the bleed going and get to dump the hydrogen through the engine inlets and then out through this bleed line overboard. And that's when we saw the leak. And then when we opened up and vented the tank back down, the leak went away. So it's kind of telling because this is meant to be a pressure activated seal. In fact, when we applied pressure, it actually leaked. So I think we got a pretty good trail to follow on this one. The other piece is, after we do get done mating that umbilical plate back up, there's a pretty significant retest that we have to do because it's not just these quick disconnects for hydrogen, but there's electrical and pneumatic systems that go through that as well. So we're going to rerun the interface verification tests on that end to end, just to make sure that we didn't disturb or damage anything else in the process of fixing this.
All right, thank you. Our next question is from Seth Bornstein from AP.
Yes, thank you. This is for Phil. Just you mentioned that 13 of the 128 functions you didn't get enough data on the test, and the majority of those have already been validated in previous tests. When you take out the number that have been validated in previous tests, how many do you have left? And and then when you test the booster hydraulic power units, how many would you have left after those?
Yeah, so the only the GLS commanded functions for internal count, the only ones that hadn't been validated in prior testing using the ground launch sequencer is what we call the dead facing requirements, and that's where we de-energize the ground power supplies, and you want to do that right before disconnecting the umbilical. And the reason is you don't want to do a hot demate of electrical power on the off chance that you have hydrogen or oxygen in the vicinity. So we did not get a test of that. Everything else has already been tested. The reason we're not really that worried about the dead facing requirement is that you actually have to have a couple of failures for that to become an issue. You have to have some kind of a hydrogen leak in that area to begin with. You have to lose the purge that we apply through that plate gap, and then you have to have enough of a spark, energy level to create an ignition source to begin with. So we feel pretty good, and that really was the only step that we didn't get validated.
Thank you. Our next question is from Philip Bloss of NASA Space Flight.
Thanks. I think this is probably for Tom. How much of the, from a programmatic standpoint, how much of the flight readiness review process is still in front of the enterprise? And then, people talking about 6 to 8 weeks in the VAB to get ready to roll back out. Does that still leave you with the possibility of making the, I believe it's launch period 25 that starts in late August? Thanks.
Yeah, let me answer both questions. One, we've had a number. We do what we call an incremental review of the status of the vehicle. So at a program level, we've had a number of what we call pre-FRRs, and so we really kind of cleared the path for most of the data that we would need to evaluate at this point in time. And so our goal is to, every time we validate something or check something off, is to actually take credit for that. So by the time we get down to my FRR and then the agency FRR, which would take place just prior to launch, we will have most of that discussed and confirmed. So we think we're in good shape. We think we've got closed out most of the things that we can close out to this point. We'll review some of that at these meetings to be able to answer that specific question. The first time out at the pad for WDR and our run that we just went through, Charlie, WDR runs.
All right, thank you. Our next question is from Chris Gabehart of NASASpaceflight.com.
Hi, a question. At the pad, wouldn't you be past that period where the flight termination system is valid from a range perspective, or are there waivers where you can go over 20 days on that? Thank you.
Let's see, Chris, do you want that one or do you want me to take it?
You can start it, Phil, and I can add to it if you want.
Yeah, we'd actually looked at that one pretty hard with the range, and we got tailoring to allow us to go up to 20 days, and we laid out, and that was really based on our timelines that showed what we expected to do from the time you do the range safety end-to-end test in the VAB. The end-to-end test is where you put the hat couplers over the antennas and actually simulate the signal coming into the range safety system, and then you're not connected up to the ordnance, but you do measure the power output to verify that it will actually function if commanded to do so. So from the time that test happens in the VAB, and like Cliff was describing Charlie's nominal pad flow, we laid out that in order to get 3 launch attempts, that we would need 20 days, and so that's still what we're tracking to. And the range has agreed to the 20 days.
All right, thank you. Our next question is from Ken Kramer of Space Upload.
Oh, hi, thank you. Well, just to follow up on that, 20 days. So when does the 20 days start, actually?
The 20-day clock starts when we begin the test in the VAB. So it's important that we actually get through that test in an expeditious manner, and then we have some closeouts to do after that test is completed. So yeah, we're going to be hustling to get out of the barn.
Yeah, and we're going to have, when we get a little closer to setting the date, we'll sit down and Charlie will be back and we'll go through all that with you and really kind of give you the detailed timeline. And we're comfortable that we have a plan in place that will allow us 3 launch opportunities. We'll arrange with the range to have the date set aside for us. And if you look at statistically, that's a good opportunity. And once again, I got to be careful to say that this will be the first time launch of the vehicle. We may learn something when we get out there. There might be some other things. I think when we get together next, my boss Jim Free will be here and he'll kind of make sure we set good expectations for that. But I can tell you from a logistical perspective, they'll talk to you about that. They'll give you a specific timeline. And the way it works is we'll time the roll to support the window, and that we would have 3 attempts. We're pretty comfortable with that.
All right, thank you. We'll take another question from Philip Bloss of NASA Space Flight.
Thanks. I had a couple questions of some things that we heard about in and around run number 4. I think one of the things with the crew access arm, which was left extended through the test, is that going to be a factor in working the VAB and getting ready for launch? And then we also heard about a low reading during the resistance check on one of the HQs in the left FRB. Is that going to be an issue that needs to be dealt with in the VAB as well? Thanks.
So the config, when we get ready to come off the pad, we retract the crew access arm back and pin it against the side of the tower. Then we roll back and we get just outside of the VAB, we stop, and then extend the arm around up adjacent to the Orion. And the reason we do that is there's not clearance once you're inside the VAB for that arm to swing around. But we do want that white room up against the Orion so we can access the spacecraft once we're back inside the VAB. And what was your second question, Philip?
Jeremy Graber was talking during the broadcast about low reading during the resistance check.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so yeah, we picked that one up actually before we got into the tanking meeting Monday morning. Seems like a lifetime ago, right? But so yeah, about 4 o'clock in the morning on Monday, and it was on one of the booster HPU systems, and it's a high pressure overboard bleed valve. It's a solenoid valve, right? And so the way the solenoid works is you energize the coil and it pulls the magnet back and opens the valve and allows. It's in the hydraulic system, not in the fuel system, not in the hydrogen system. But part of the built-in test that we run on that, it's an integrated script that we test all the systems out inside that HPU system, the hydraulic power unit, and we picked up a low resistance reading in one of these coils, and it was reading somewhere. John, you helped me out. It was like 20 ohms. Should have been at least 24. Went back and talked to Northrop Grumman and the booster element folks at Marshall, and they said, hey, in reality, that's good down to 16 ohms.